On the surface, Ralsei seems like a normal character, but once we go into the dark world of Ralsei, things change completely. To start, let's look at the dark world itself. The dark world is comprised of set pieces from the real world that get turned into magical and fantastical items, even fully animated lifelike characters. A side note, keep in mind that Chris turns on the TV. I think this will be a callback to Flowey. We can pick that up from the smile that flashes on the TV. And notice that Chris leaves the door of the house open. This might mean that this dark fountain specifically will spread not only through the house, but throughout the rest of hometown. The reason I don't think spreading occurred with the other dark fountains is because I don't think Chris left the doors open. I think he left them closed. This is of course assuming that Chris created the dark fountain in the classroom and also in the library, but just roll with me on it. We know real life objects come to life because Ralsei confirms it for us by telling us to go to the room with plushies, chess, and checkerboards, and tells us to collect all the pieces and bring them back to the dark world. This in itself is strange because it branches off into two questions. How is Ralsei aware of the fact that for the dark world to come to life, outside objects are needed? And second, how is Ralsei even alive? I don't think the closet acts as a dark world, but more of a dark hub. This is further confirmed by the fact that Ralsei is able to move from dark world to dark world, but we aren't 100% sure as to how she does that. We haven't seen it happen, so this is more of an assumption. But this raises questions about Ralsei. What is he? He doesn't seem to be human or monster. The most popular running theory I've seen from creators like MatPat and smaller creators is that Ralsei is Chris's projection of his older brother. Ralsei isn't real and simply a figure of Chris's imagination. I've had a few problems with this theory, like how is Chris himself able to project his own conscious or maybe even unconscious desires, if we consider Ralsei or Asriel an unconscious desire, into reality, into a fully functioning animated human-ish character. However, there is good evidence to prove that reality in the dark world can change due to someone's unconscious desires. And this evidence comes from Noel, and I'll let the creator of the video that brought up this theory tell you himself.
Lastly, how the worlds are affected or formed based on the people or characters that enter the world. And you can really easily see my point with Noelle, but mostly their connection to her dead sister Des. Specifically a puzzle section / cutscene that writes out December. It's quite easy to miss because you're probably reading the narration at the top, and that blocks out the letters. But it's quite obvious that that's the full name of her dead sister, as she keeps talking about Des in this narration.
If that's the case, then that's another good reason to think that maybe Ralsei really is just a part of Chris's imagination. Another important thing to mention is that Chris keeps the Dark World summoning knife on his person, but as far as I know, you cannot view it in your inventory. That's actually really scary because it means Chris can be hiding more from the player's view than originally meets the eye, and it also means he can be hiding even more, which now we even have good reason to believe after he creates the Dark World in your home. I made a video talking about why I think Ralsei is the real Asriel, why I really think that Asriel is actually trapped in the Dark World, so to speak. But now I just think that theory doesn't have enough evidence to back it. There's more evidence that points to the fact that Ralsei is a psychological illusion created by Chris. Normally that'd be the end of the story, but it gets more complicated when you consider that Noelle can actually kill Birdley. I mean, legitimately. This means actions in the Dark World have real-life consequences. So what does it mean for Ralsei? Well, Ralsei can't be completely fake because he helps you progress forward, and assuming he ever hypothetically decided to kill Susie out of rage in the Dark World, that would carry over in the real world. This again draws more questions to the theory that Ralsei is some figment of Chris's imagination. However, when Chris and Susie talk in the Dark World, their sprites stay black and white, and when Ralsei talks, it's a colorful sprite. Shout out to MatPat for noticing. This again means that Ralsei is different. Also, Ralsei can switch between Dark Worlds and avoids becoming a frozen statue. This might also mean that Ralsei would survive the Armageddon that he prophesized. He may not freeze like the Darkners, and rather just fall into a mentally chaotic state if the Armageddon came about. But this is the problem. We don't know. And something that we don't know is scarier than something we do, because it can become anything, and our minds can race infinitely to try and figure out what that is.